Hello, my name is Fatima Ramirez, and today I will be talking about standardized testing. Standardized testing is a topic that we may have all heard before and maybe even encountered at some point in our academic career. But what is standardized testing? So according to former president of the American Educational Research Association, W. James Popham, excuse me if I completely butchered that, but according to him, any test that is administered, scored, and interpreted in a standard and predetermined manner is considered to be a standardized test. With that being said, standardized testing has become a huge part in the American educational system, and this dates back since the mid-1800s. This has been in use for a while. However, the use of standardized testing has only skyrocketed ever since the No Child Left Behind Act was passed in the early 2000s. I believe this was in 2002, but this act mandated annual testing all over the country. All 50 states, all schools across the country had to administer annual testing. However, we have seen failures in our system, and even not even seeing our students perform as well as we would have hoped. And many people blame this on our poverty crisis, and even go as far as questioning the quality and the qualifications of our educators. And while I can see both of these arguments, something that I haven't seen yet, or at least heard, is somebody blaming this on standardized testing and not including standardized testing as being one of the factors that our system is failing our students. And I say this because these tests tend to cause our students stress and anxiety. And this is because they tend to be tied to these extremely important outcomes. And one that's usually in the back of our students' mind is graduation and whether or not they're going to be able to graduate, which is really important for most young adults in this country. One that maybe is not really thought about much from students, but very much from schools and administration, is the funding. Whether or not the scores of their students are going to affect the funding of their schools. Something that I see these tests as well is that these tests fail to take into account students who may learn differently. We all need to take into account, and I really hope we all know that we're not all the same. We're all different people, and so we all don't learn in the same way. So we all learn at a different pace. We all learn in different ways. So this really needs to be taken into account. However, this test also fails to take into account students who may show their academic proficiency in different ways. And most students don't really show it through tests. They don't feel comfortable with this, and this causes them to not shine their brightest or give their biggest effort. So this makes me believe that it's an unfair and inaccurate way to measure the academic progress of our students. However, teachers also face challenges when it comes to standardized testing. They need to meet certain testing standards, and they have these pressures to teach to test, which means what it says. They only have time to teach their students in order to prepare them for a test, rather than teaching them more broad curriculum and curriculum that's going to help them in their lives and in the outside world. So this creates a frustration among educators because it doesn't require them enough time to really teach broader curriculum so that they can help their students in the real world. However, they also face pressures from schools to improve their test scores because, again, schools are worried about the funding, and if their scores go down, their funding goes down. So that's not really what they want. So this has led me to believe scores have been commonly assumed to have a strong correlation with effectiveness in teaching. And what I mean by this is it places an unfair blame on good teachers if their students' scores are low. And most of the time, a student's score can be low because, like I have mentioned before, they may not show their academic proficiency in that way, and that's not how they really can show their progress. However, another way that this can be shown is that it discloses any teaching deficiencies if the scores are too high. And that what that means is if the student's score is too high, they may completely go past and not really think that nothing is wrong in that classroom or wrong with the teacher. And it may be the complete opposite. Maybe there are a lot of ways a teacher can improve and to really help their students overall in their academic career and in the long term in their adult career and in real life. Overall, I still believe that testing should be incorporated, don't get me wrong. However, I believe it should be used as a tool to measure and see a student's progress and where they need improvement, rather than having these high-stake outcomes that ultimately will end up determining a student's academic future.